All right, so we keep going with the front end. Now, just want to mention a few things before we get into this. Uh, we're gonna do a quick run up, sort of speak about a few front end frameworks and stuff, because I don't think it makes sense for us to spend 20 minutes on one of each and single one of them, which will make sense if you want to learn this like you know in detail, but we're not doing that. So let's just get through it. Front end, as you should know. If you don't know, that's the door right there. All right. And there's many ways to write the front end. It could be just a simple HTML as this one is, right? It could be uh, different like React JS, Next.js, which is this one here, right? JavaScript, basically CSS, whatever is for the tailwinds, all that stuff. It's a combination, okay? PHP, loads of stuff, beautiful stuff. Now we're gonna focus on Next.js, which is a React framework. React is this guy here. Uh, Now, most of this React is used for the applications on the phones, right? Android or any, I think Apple Store as well. And the thing is that it works on the website as well, on devices, on desktop. So it's a combination. Basically, most of people are using this, and then they kind of push it forward, and they invent Next.js, and I think React.js is called. Anyways, basically, these are some videos about the this language, but uh, it's more about what that guy did in the video. So it's a summarization of that video, and I'll try to get quickly onto it and not dwell on every single aspect. Now, it's built in optimization for fast loading websites, which you want when you have a website. You could get clearly like a web app. You want it to load fast, right? SEO friendly, which makes content visible to search engines. That means if you look upon, you search it for on Google or whatever, you will find it because it's SEO friendly, right? It's the way people are searching for it, and it's gonna pop up. Then, of course, if you know the exact name, obviously, it will be a different situation. Developer experience features like file-based routing and hot reloading speed up development. Hot reloading, and I think it's something that gives a bit of time before it loads up, something like that, and it doesn't load up every single time. As long I think I think it might be that I'm wrong. Something that let's say it's a video and you click on it and then it plays. It doesn't reload by itself, because if it plays in a loop or something like that, it's going to consume data. So then, as long as the video is there, if you want to see it played, you know, it could be that. But as I said, I'm learning, so I could be also wrong. And then developer experience features, as I said, that full stack capable, easily create backend API endpoints with the same project. This is quite interesting, to have the same, uh, to create the full stack with the same framework without having to use different languages. Because most of the time, if you use, for example, HTML, that's static. So therefore, you need a language for the backend, for the database. So you connect with the database. So then you have to use JavaScript or PHP or stuff like that. So yeah, uh, core features: the app router uses a file system-based router that you create folders to define routes and special files like page.js to show the UI for the route. And this intuitive structure makes it easy to organize your application and create shared layouts for different sections of your site. That's interesting stuff. Clearly, core feature you gives you choice how your pages are rendered. Server-side rendering generates a page on the server for every request. Great for dynamic content. Pre-rendered pages at build time, incredibly fast and perfect for blogs. So you can see why people are actually using this a lot nowadays. Next.js, most of them, when they're building an application, uh, data fetching with the latest version. You can fetch data directly inside your React component using simple async or await syntax. This simplifies the process of getting data from an API or database and displaying it on your page. Building optimization. You can go ahead and look for more. This is a situation where you can use React for the front end. For example, you want to generate an image, you can use del e and yeah, interesting stuff. Then programming with Marsh. Primary job is to help you build fast and interactive user interface. JavaScript library. You build complex UIs by combining small, isolated, and reusable pieces of code called components. And then yeah, so all this is telling you what do you need. TypeScript superset of JavaScript to help prevent common bugs. And so the project sets up with Void, the environment. Void offers significantly faster developer experience and creates smaller, more optimized application bundles for production. Core concept components GSX. Two most common ideas in React are components and GSX. JavaScript function that returns what should appear on the screen. Special syntax. Would you describe that structure of your components? Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, it gets into depth. Obviously, if you want to see the video, go ahead and look for it. It's what people use nowadays. React and Next.js is the and TypeScript as well. If you look in here, this is what TypeScript look like, right? This guy uses TypeScript. Google AI. You see a lot of inline CSS, okay, for all of them, pretty much. Which takes us to the next thing of the front end, Tailwind CSS full course. So this is some of the tutorial by Dave Gray. You can go ahead and look for it. A utility first framework. Hold on a second. Okay, so really quick. So what is Tailwind? The utility first CSS framework. Unlike other frameworks like Bootstrap that gives you pre-built components, Tailwind provides low-level utility classes, and this lets you build completely custom design directly in your HTML without writing a lot of custom CSS. It's known for speeding up development once you get the hang of it, right? And I'll say that before starting, you need a basic understanding of HTML and CSS. The course uses a few key tools: the Chrome browser, the VS Code editor with the live server, and Tailwind CSS IntelliSense extensions, and Node.js for managing the project. So if you go ahead and look at it, you will understand what all these components basically. VS Code, Cursor, which one is it? Doesn't matter. You look for the IntelliSense here. The IntelliSense. Hold on. I think I'm illiterate reading it. It's one S. Sense. IntelliSense. Yeah, this one here tells me that I don't have it. Alright. IntelliSense extensions. So live server, you know which live server is. Same here. Look for it. Live server. This one here. Basically, our live server allows you to do this. Open with live server, right? And you have this HTML opened in your live server. But yeah, this can be also open from inside your project, whatever it is, because it's a HTML, right? But anyways, the point is that you can open it in here from this app. Where you at? Talk to me. What else he has? extensions. Um, he created a project here. Art Network is part 2. Mobile menu implementation major chapter. A significant chapter is dedicated to building a fully functional mobile menu. This involves using JavaScript to toggle classes that shows, hide, and animate the menu. It also covers how to create a sleek animation that transforms the hamburger icon into X when the menu is opened. And I'm going to show you what that means on one of my projects. Let me just close some of this. I think this will do. Uh, I'm not using hamburger menu because that's a little bit dated. Nowadays we're using this, right? Which allows you to do this. Hello, good morning. Are you still there?
My name is Jeff.
Yeah. Oh no, relax. So we're not doing that anymore. But the man says that this is a hamburger menu and it turns into an X here and it teaches you basically how to do that. That's what that is, right? Through the CSS tailwinds. Final touches. The course touches final adjustment best practices, includes how to properly extend tailwinds default theme with your own custom color spacing. And finally, it works through an entire process of deploying the finished website to a free hosting service called Render using Git and GitHub. Beautiful. You want to go ahead and look for it. That's pretty much front end. I just skip through this stuff because I guess the most important part here is to choose the right front end for you according to the application that you build, because some of them make sense for mobile apps, some of them make sense for web apps, and I, I find that some people use more Next.js, but some of them are still using HTMLs. So I don't think it's a problem now. It's all about what you're doing with the app, right? What is the use case for the app? And I personally find this interesting, but I never really put in practice like that. Never really created no applications, so I wouldn't be able to show you anything that about it, right? So that's why I was just using these guys examples, create myself an idea about it, but I didn't want to spend too much time on each of them because I had no idea either. So when I have a little bit of a taste, at least small amount of insights, I could talk more about it. But if I don't, then I'm just ranting. So don't want to do that. But these are pretty much the most important um, tools that you have nowadays when you're building applications now, especially with Google AI, because for some reason um, it's easier for the AI, for the LLMs to access these libraries and stuff. So when they're creating this, you will find a lot of this. Basically, they will always use tailwinds, and there you go. You got a lot of errors like this. And where is tailwinds? See here, it says CDN Tailwinds CSS.com should not be used in production. To use Tailwind CSS in production, install it as a post CSS plugin or use the Tailwind CLI, right? So then there's a different procedure so you can actually access this. And you will think, right? You will think because they created here, it's fine to use, right? But no, it's not. you'll have to use different practices to actually or install whatever. And I think there's a subscription or something like that. I don't know. It could be, right? So that takes me to the next point. This is just a video, don't mind that. So it takes me to the next point. When you're building something in this sandbox, says either if it's this or maybe a vibe up application, maybe it's anti-gravity, I don't know, whatever you're using, right? um, you have to understand that this is not a final product. This is the beginning of the product. This is like for you to understand a little bit what this product is about, and then from this point to take you to the next point, it's it's an uphill job, sort of saying, because they put it together to bring it up to this point, you know. But from here, it's all about whatever you want to do it with it, right? So I guess they're not really expecting you to know this stuff straight away, and you'll discover this stuff later on, right? So that's why you should kind of try to make some sense before you start building this, or at least be aware that it's not that simple as they make it look. Like you just download this app and that's it, you have a working app. That's not how it is, you know, especially for production. Why you keep showing me this, man? I don't know why it's putting this layer on top of my beautiful queen here. What anyways, so you have to understand that this is giving you just a taste of what it is. You can definitely create this by yourself in the application without problems. In an application like an IDE like this, right? But and use live servers or local hosts to see the results and everything. But if you want to use today's tools like these tools, right, you have to keep in mind the limitation that you have with by creating it inside here, and then you have to understand what the else you have to add it to actually transform it in a working application. And yeah, you have to do some research before you create something and don't find yourself in a dead end. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yes, it comes up to this is part of the front end, right? What you're doing here, you're building the front end basically, but that's all that this thing does. It builds the front end, and then in order for this to make sense, you have to connect it to a back end, and that's where the serious stuff is, right? The back end is where everything is processed and everything like that, and it's a lot of, yeah, you have to consider that the integration of it and all that stuff, the way the AI connects with each other, and where it makes sense to use and what kind of language makes more sense for you according to the environment where you're trying to deploy and the market you're trying to reach. Yeah, so it's a lot to think through it. It's not really as simple as writing down some code in here or talking with this guy and then having an application here and then like you think you have an application. That's not what it is. Even if it shows here deploy this app, for example, right? And you select a cloud, you're gonna deploy this, right? And you have a link. let's say that. But then there's some work that you have to understand. There's back end. This is this application will be on I think the yeah, let me have a look. Yeah, there you go. So this application now is live, right? With a weird looking uh, name, which nobody will actually remember, right? And you see it working, right? But this is all mock data here, right? This is not real data or data. And if you really want this to work, you have to bring this to connect this with a database. That's where the backend comes in place. If you really want users to log in and have their experience saved and have all this whatever data about them suggested to them or whatever, that's where it backend comes in place. Okay, if you want to have any checkout, right, go ahead and have a checkout process involved, like a Stripe payment, stuff like that. That's when the backend gets involved, right? So what you have here is just whatever you had. See, there's regular checkout. But come on now, what do you mean? There's nothing in here. It didn't add um, no hooks, no API hooks or nothing, by web hooks, nothing. How do you going? How you will have that happening? How is that gonna happen? It's not. So it's just it's like a toy you play. Like I said, you play in a sandbox. Uh, you're building a sandcastle. This is not working, obviously. So that's why it makes sense for you when you build this to build it with the backend in mind and where you're gonna and the hosting and the deployment where the environment where you deploy it according to the users that you're gonna reach so that they will interact, they will, you know, use this app, whatever, and then you can get some feedback or you can get the benefits out of it and you know how to improve on it and everything like that. Yeah. All right.